talk about a part of the davening in Yom Kippur which we don't reflect on. It's really part Yom Kippur shares with Rosh Hashanah. At the end of Musaf, we've gone through a long Musaf, an emotional Musaf, and we come to a joyous conclusion. And each Beis Medrash in its own Nusach sings Hayom Ta'amseinu, Hayom T'Barachenu, Hayom T'Gadleinu, Hayom T'Yashenu L'Teiba. Usually it's a very lively tune, a lively Nusach. And then we say the words K'Hayom Hazeh T'Vi'enu Sasim V'Smeichim V'Vinyan Shalem. We ask the Ribono Shel to bring us in joy to the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash. And we cite a pasuk, a very curious pasuk. It says, Utstaka tiyalanu, it will be considered an act of tzedakah, ki nishmar la'asos es kol ha-mitzvah hazos, if we observe all the mitzvahs, lifnei Hashem Elokeinu, before the Ribono Shel Olam kasher tzivanu, as he commanded us. It's a pasuk in Parshas V'Waschana, which says when we observe the mitzvahs, it's considered an act of charity, an act of tzedakah. An act of tzedakah by whom and for whom. So we have various interpretations. The Ramban understands that it means that when the Ribono Shel Olam rewards us, it's an act of charity. The schar for a mitzvah is not the payment of a debt, because the Baruch doesn't owe us anything. So when he rewards us for the mitzvahs we do, that's an act of tzedakah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to us. The Ohr HaChaim understands the exact opposite way. That when we serve Hashem me'ahava, we serve Hashem out of love, this is an act of charity which we extend to the Ribono Shel Olam. It's not a debt, it's an act of love, it's an act of tzedakah. So this would seem to exhaust the possibilities. Either it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving us tzedakah, or it's us giving HaKadosh Baruch Hu tzedakah. I would like to suggest a third possibility. Let's put this in the back burner and talk about a related subject. There's a Gemara in Bava Basra which says that Bo Urei, come and see that Ribono Shel Olam is not like a Melech Basar V'Dor. Ribono Shel Olam is not like a human king. To a human king, if you bring him a big gift, a magnificent tribute, you still never know. Will he take you in? Will he not take you in? Will you gain access? Will you not gain access? But by the Ribono Shel Olam, if you give a pruta, you give a penny to a poor person, Zoicha u'makabel pnei Shechina, you merit to receive the face of the Shechina. As it says in the pasuk, Ani b'tzedek echazeh panecha, that through an act of charity, I merit to behold the face of the Ribono Shel Olam. The Gemara says that Rabbi Eliezer would give tzedakah before davening. He'd give a pruta for tzedakah before davening, and he would cite this pasuk, Ani b'tzedek echazeh panecha. I, through charity, will behold the divine face. There's a minhag before Yom Kippur to give tzedakah. You go to every shul tomorrow mincha, you'll see plates and bowls for this cause and that cause and another cause. Everyone gives a lot of tzedakah erev Yom Kippur. And it would seem that the reason is because there's no greater Yom Tefillah than Yom Kippur. There's no day of the year that we daven like we do on Yom Kippur. So if the hachana, the preparation for davening is tzedakah, it makes perfect sense that erev Yom Kippur there should be a lot of tzedakah. But it's really more than that. The ani b'tzedek echzeh panecha is relevant to Yom Kippur in a much deeper way. What is tshuva? What does it mean, tshuva? Tshuva is the attempt to overcome the distance between us and the Ribono Shel Olam. So the Baal Tanya writes, what is the nature of that distance? It's obviously not geographic distance. It's not spatial. It's not that we're here and the Ribono Shel Olam is there. The Baal Tanya says an amazing thing. Imagine if two people, they could be inches apart, but they're standing back to back. They're not facing each other. There's no greater distance than that. Tshuva, says the Baal Tanya, is the hachzaras panim el panim. It's the restoration of the face-to-face relationship. That's what tshuva is. That's intimacy, that's closeness. It's a rectification of what the pasuk says, Ki panu elai oirev v'lei panim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu criticizes Klal Yisrael, he says, they turned their backs to me, not their faces. Tshuva is the rectification of that. panim o panim, face to face. And on that the pasuk says, "Vani b'tzedek echze panecha." If you want to merit that face-to-face relationship, it is through tzedakah, specifically through tzedakah. So why would that be? So I'm going to read you a line of the Maral, very cryptic line, and perhaps we'll understand it. Maral says, "Ki tzedakah hi mida an mitis shel Hashem Yisbarach." Tzedakah is the mida an mitis. It is the midah of Hashem's true essence. Lefikach ksiv, and that's what the pasuk says. Ani b'tzedek echze panecha. You want to behold the Ribono Shel Olam, it's through tzedakah. Ki mitzad hatzedek sheyesh b'tzedakah, because of the component of tzedek, which is within tzedakah, roi sheyech the parav shel Hashem Yisbarach. It is fitting to behold Hashem's face. And he goes on to say, v'lo kein midas hachesed. It's not the chesed component of the tzedakah, it's the tzedek component of the tzedakah. The Maral seems to be saying that in tzedakah there are two aspects. There is the chesed of the tzedakah, and there is the tzedek of the tzedakah. And the aspect of tzedakah which allows us to have that intimate contact with the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not the chesed of the tzedakah, it's the tzedek of the tzedakah. What does it all mean? There's a Rambam in the Moreh Nevuchim that discusses these terms, chesed and tzedakah. What do they mean? So he says like this. The word chesed is haflaga. Chesed is something exaggerated, something over the top, something extreme. When you outdo yourself, that's called chesed. It's interesting. Rabbeinu Bechaya brings a Ramban. There's a pasuk in Chumash, a cryptic pasuk. It says that if a person commits incest with his sister, Isha sheikach asachoso chesed. It's chesed. The Rashi is bothered. All the Mefarshim are bothered. Why do you call that chesed? So Rabbeinu Bechaya brings a Ramban. We don't have this Ramban. Rabbeinu Bechaya brings a Ramban that says, because the word chesed simply means haflag. It means something extreme. It can be an extreme of goodness or an extreme of evil. Either way, it's called chesed. In this instance, committing incest with your sister, that's chesed. That's a haflag. It's an extreme of evil. And that's why the word chesed is appropriate. So chesed means something over the top, something you've outdone yourself. So the Rambam asks a question. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestows kindness upon us, in Tanakh that's called chesed. Can HaKadosh Baruch Hu do anything over the top? Could you ever say, Ribono Shel Olam, you really outdid yourself this time? So a human being who is finite in his abilities, we can say he outdid himself. Ribono Shel Olam is infinite. He can't outdo himself. So why are God's kindnesses called chesed? That's an amazing thing. It's really only chesed from the perspective of the recipient. The recipient receives the Kadosh Baruch Hu's kindness and realizes, I didn't deserve this. Really, I didn't deserve anything. Even if I deserved something, not so much, not such an abundance. So it's chesed, it's a haflaga, not because it's a haflaga from God's end. It isn't God outdoing himself. It's a haflaga because it's far more than I deserve. That's what the Rambam says. Then he proceeds to discuss the word tzedakah. And he says the word tzedakah is also a very odd word. The word tzedakah comes from the word tzedek. What is tzedek? Tzedek is justice. Tzedek tirdos. We have to pursue justice. Charity is not justice. When you give a person charity, he has no claim. There's no entitlement. He can't present a bill. So why do we call the charity we give tzedakah? So here the Rambam says an amazing thing. The Rambam says that you're right. Here, the term tzedakah, which comes from tzedek, is not from the perspective of the recipient. It's from the perspective of the giver. Why? So says the Rambam. Because when a person does something which is appropriate for himself, which is fitting his own character, which is something that is not self-destructive, but to the contrary, it builds the person as he is meant to be, that is an act of tzedek, an act of justice to yourself, says the Rambam. I'll read you his exact words. He says, Ki kishetelech b'derech malos hamidos, if a person goes in a way which develops within himself proper midos, You've done justice to your intellectual soul. You've paid it its due. Let's understand that. People engage in behaviors that are self-destructive. People use drugs, people smoke, people drink too much. They destroy themselves. They destroy their bodies, destroy their minds. They're committing an injustice to themselves. They're cheating themselves. They're injuring, they're killing themselves. When a person acts in a way that builds himself, that develops himself, he is actually doing justice. He is giving himself what he deserves, what he has an entitlement to. That's why it's said. Tzedakah, from the perspective of the recipient, is really chesed. It's haflaga. The recipient doesn't deserve the money. But from the perspective of the giver, it's an act of tzedek, it's an act of justice. Let's go back to the Maral. Maral says, we want to be davuk to the Ribono Shel Olam. We want to cleave to the Ribono Shel Olam. What is the hallmark of the Ribono Shel Olam? What do we know about the Ribono Shel Olam? The Ribono Shel Olam is emes. Ki ata Elokim emes u'dvarcha emes. If we want to cleave to him, if we want to behold his face, if we want to be connected to him, we have to be emes. We have to be true. We have to be true to ourselves. We can't put on a show. We can't put on a masquerade. You know, it's an interesting thing that Purim and Yom Kippurim are related. Tikkun Zohar says that Yom Kippur is Yom Kippur. They like Purim. Why is it like Purim? So one of the fanciful interpretations which is given is that on both days you masquerade. On Purim, the good Jews masquerade as Rishoyim. Good Jews will dress up like Haman, like Achashverosh. So it's a masquerade of one type. And Yom Kippur, it's the opposite. We all masquerade like Erlich Eden. We go to shul and we daven and we clap al chet and we cry. So it's also a masquerade of sorts. Rachmana litzlan. If we go to Yom Kippur putting on a masquerade, we can't even face the Ribono Shel Olam. The Ribono Shel Olam won't even look at us. They're not interested in you. I am emes. I demand truth. I demand authenticity. You have to be real. You can't come in disguise and face me and look at me. When do we have the right to face the Ribono Shel Olam? When we come in truth. That's why ani b'tzedek echze panecha. If we want to see the Ribono Shel Olam, it's through tzedek. Says the Maral, not the chesed of tzedakah, not the haflaga of tzedakah. When we do acts that are over the top, we outdo ourselves. We do things that are not really where we're at. That's not what enables us to connect to the Ribono Shel Olam. It's when we do acts that are authentic, that we are true to ourselves. A Yid has certain essential qualities. Chazal say Yidden are baishanim. They are bashful people. They are rachmanim. They're merciful people. They're goyim lechasanim. They are generous people. Because when a Yid gives tzedakah, and he gives tzedakah with an open heart and an open hand, and with tznius, with modesty, not in a flashy way, not in a public way, and he reinforces these midas, the midah of being a baisha, because he does it tznius, he does it shtila hate. He reinforces the idea of being a rachman, because he does it with an open heart. And he reinforces the idea of being a goyim chesed, because he does it with an open hand. He is really building himself. He is realizing his essential nature. That's emes. He's being true to himself. It's not the haflaga, it's not the big donation, it's not the $1 zillion that makes the difference. It's not the chesed of the act that enables us to be double to the Ribono Shel Olam. It's the tzedek of the act, it's the justice of the act. When we do that act which is true to ourselves, this is how we are zoicha to behold the face of the Ribono Shel Olam. I would suggest, going back to the pasuk we began with, Utztaka ti alonu, When it says in the pasuk that we do mitzvahs, it is an act of tzedakah. So we said the Ramban's interpretation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing tzedakah for us when He rewards us. We have the Darchei's interpretation that we are doing tzedakah for HaKadosh Baruch Hu when we serve Him ba'ava. I would suggest that the meaning of the pasuk is tzedakah tiyalanu. We are performing an act of justice to ourselves when we do mitzvahs. When we live a life of Torah and mitzvahs, and we are giving our souls what they yearn for, we are true to ourselves. That is an act of tzedakah, as said. It's an act of justice to ourselves. We are being fair to ourselves. We are giving ourselves what we deserve. And that really is the ba'koil mikol koil. It's the culmination of what Yom Noraim, Shana, Yom Kippur, Aseres Mitzvah, Elul is all about. It's not about the chesed, it's not about the haflaga, it's not about doing things in an extreme way, over the top, exaggerated, outdoing ourselves. It's not about doing more. It's about being true to ourselves. It's about realizing what we are meant to be, and building on that foundation and making something out of ourselves. It's not a masquerade. When we are true to ourselves, and therefore we are dovek, we cleave to the midah amitis of the Ribono Shel Olam, that we are true, we become the types of people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to associate with. That's ani b'tzedek echzeh panachim. To the act of tzedek, to justice we do to ourselves, we cleave to the Ribono Shel Olam. As I said before, that one of the ground rules is that we don't talk about the yeshiva, because we have to talk about Yom Kippur, but allow myself a little bit, just a drap, to say about the yeshiva, that there are many facets of the chinuch we try to impart to our talmidim in the yeshiva. Many, many, many different aspects. The Ramah, the level of the Limud Kodesh, the level of the Limud Echel, there are many, many different aspects. But one of the aspects which the Rebbeim are so successful in conveying and imparting is this idea of being true to yourself. When you have an institution which has a mold, and everyone is put into that mold and is formed, inevitably, invariably, you'll have a lot of people that aren't being true to themselves. This is not what I am. This is the mold into which I was put. This is the uniform I was given, or the costume I was given for the masquerade. So I might walk the walk, and even talk the talk. That's not me. It's not authentic. It's not real. And to the extent that it's not authentic and it's not real, it violates ani b'tzedek echzeh panachim. You cannot have that link, that bond to the Ribono Shel Olam, because it isn't authentic. To the extent that the chinuch is built on the yesod, on the foundation of each and every talmid realizing his own personality and his own midas and developing in his own way, in that way, whatever growth the young man experiences, whether it's in Torah, whether it's in Chachma, whether it's in Hashkafa, whether it's in Tefillah, whether it's in midas, whether it's in Chesed, whatever it is, but it's something which is authentic. It is his. It is his personality. It is his being. It is his midas. It is his background, which is being realized. It's the truth. It's the real thing. When it's the real thing, that's ani b'tzedek echzeh panachim. Yom Kippur is the moment of truth. Yom Kippur is the moment where all the masks have to come off. Yeah. We're standing in front of the Ribono Shel Olam, and the Ribono Shel Olam sees through everything. He knows exactly what is going on. And it's a moment of crystal clear clarity. If we're not ready to deal with that, because we're still interested in pursuing the masquerade and wearing the costume, then we're going to be in big trouble. We have to come to the Ribono Shel Olam with truth. And that's really what we say on Yom Kippur. Ki b'yom hazeh yichaper aleichem l'taher eschem. This is the day of purity. And purity is v'taher libeinu b'avotcha b'yemes. To purify our hearts, that whatever we do should be with truth, should be with authenticity, should be real. So if we could mekayim that, then this is the type of Yom Kippur that is very precious to the Ribono Shel Olam. And this is the type of Yom Kippur that will enable us to be Zoicha to a Gmar Chasima Tova, for a Shana Tova Masuka, a very, very sweet year, a happy year, hopefully a healthy year, a year of Geula v'Yeshua, a year of salvation for Klal Yisrael, a year of Shalom al Yisrael, a year of Parnasa, a year of Hatzlacha, a year that all the brachas of the Ribono Shel Olam will come upon us, because we're truly deserving, because we're davek to the Ribono Shel Olam, and that midah which is so precious to him, which is the midah of emes, the midah of tzedek. Thank you for listening.